Hello and welcome everyone. This is Harsh Bhardwaj from Simplilearn, and in today's session we will learn about C++ recursion. Now let's have a look at what we'll be covering today. First of all, we'll discuss what is recursion. Then we'll understand the working of recursion, that is how it actually works. After that we will learn about types of recursion, and at last we will go through the advantages and disadvantages of recursion. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Now, without further ado, let's get started. So, what is recursion? Recursion can be defined as a process in which a function calls itself again and again until a certain condition is met. Recursion basically brings about several number of iterative calls to the same function. However, it is important to have a base case to end the recursion. For example, imagine you are calling your friend again and again for an urgent piece of work until he picks up the call. Now, here calling your friend again and again or one after the other is a recursive function, and when he picks up your call is the termination condition. And this is the basic syntax where the function name is recursion and it is being called from the main function, and inside the recursion function it is calling itself. Now, let's understand its working. In a recursive function, there are two parts, that is, the recursive case and the base case. In the recursive case, the function is being called by itself again and again, and the base case is when the function finally stops calling itself. So when the recursive function is called from the main function, then the called function will execute, and it keeps on repeating as it is being called by itself from within the function again and again until it meets the base case that will terminate its calling. For example, factorial of 5. In this problem, we can see a pattern, n into factorial of n minus 1. To be clear, n is 5. So n minus 1 is 4. And it is going on till n becomes 0. Here factorial is the recursive function and n minus 1 is the argument that is getting passed for every n into the recursive function. In this case, if n becomes 0 or 1, it is the base case, and n into factorial n minus 1 is the recursive condition. Now, let's understand the types of recursion. First is direct recursion. As the name suggests, in this type of recursion, function calls itself directly. For example, void recursion. Here recursion is the name of the function and is being called by itself from within the function directly. Although there is no base case in this example, but it shows the idea of direct recursion. Now, coming to indirect recursion. When a function calls itself indirectly, that is, if a function calls some other function to make a recursive call, then it is known as indirect function. For example, here recursion function is calling some other function sub, and sub function is calling the recursion function. Here both the functions are calling other functions to make a recursive call. This is called indirect recursion. Now, coming to advantages and disadvantages of recursion. The advantages are, in recursion we only need to define the base case and the recursive case. So, therefore it provides a simple and clean way to write a code. Second is, recursion is more preferred in problems like tree traversals, Tower of Hanoi, graphs, because these are inherently recursive problems. Now, disadvantages. Disadvantages are, the recursive program generally acquires more space than the iterative program. This is because after every call to the function, each function call will keep on adding to the stack until the base case is reached. Second is, it requires more amount of time because of function calls. Now, let's do some examples of recursion on our code editor, that is VS Code. Now here we will do a program in which we will find the sum of natural number up to a number which we will enter, and we will do this example using recursion. So let's start. First of all, we'll name this. Recursion.cpp. Okay, now we will start with writing header file. that is hash include IOStream. Now we'll add namespace standard using namespace std. Now first of all we'll write int main. Now we will declare a variable, let's say num. So basically we want to enter a number. So for that, first of all we'll display a message saying that enter a number. Now we'll take the input as num. So now here we will make a call to the function, and in that function we will pass the variable num which we have taken the input of, and we will print this with a message. So let's say we'll print it like cout, and the message would be sum is, and this is the function name sum, and this is the variable which we are passing. After that let's write return 0. Now let's make this function sum. We'll write int, the return type, sum, the name of the function, and the variable num. Now first of all we have to make a base case. So we will write the base case as, we'll make if num is not equal to 0, then here we will write the recursive case, return num plus sum num minus 1. So here we are adding the numbers with its previous number, and because of recursive condition it will keep on calling the same function, sum function, again and again till the base case, that is num becomes equal to 0, is achieved, and once it is achieved the calling would be stopped. Num not equal to 0 here means that if num is not equal to 0, then only this statement num plus sum num minus 1 will execute. Okay, so now after this we'll try to run this. Enter the number, let's say 5. Sum is 15. Here we can see sum is 15. Okay, let's recheck. 5 plus 4 equals to 9, 9 plus 3 equals to 12, 12 plus 2 equals to 14, 14 plus 1 equals to 15. So our answer is correct. So this is how we can find the sum up to any numbers which we want to find the sum of. And now let's do another example. So let's name this as recursion 2.cpp. Now here we will do a program of factorial. We will enter a number and we have to find the factorial of that number. So let's start. First of all we'll write hash include IOStream, that is the header file. Now using namespace standard, now we'll write int main, Okay, now we will declare a variable number, and we want to take the input from the user, so we'll display a message saying enter the number. Now we will take the input, we'll write number. Now we will call a function and we will pass the argument number as we have done in the previous question. So let's do it. First of all, we'll display that saying the factorial of the number you have entered is. Now we will make a call to the function. Let's say the name of the function is fact, and we'll pass the argument number as we have done previously. Now we'll write return 0. Now let's make this function. We'll write the return type int. Now fact. After that, now we will write the argument int number. Now we will write if condition, and we'll write number less than 1, and we will return 1. So here we have wrote this condition because as we know that the factorial of 0 is 1, and if a number is less than 1, that it means it is 0, and if it is 0, then our program should return 1. And we will write now else condition, else if it is not 0, that means we will write the recursive condition, that is number into fact number minus 1. Now this is the condition that is responsible for finding the factorial of a number. For example, if we input 5, then here we can see the condition would become 5 into fact 5 minus 1, that is 4. And this 4 will be passed as argument to this fact function. And then the condition would become 4 into fact 4 minus 1, that is 3. And it is also passed to the function. And similarly, it will go on until it becomes less than 1. Now let's try to run this. Enter the number. Let's say 6. The factorial of number you have entered is 720, and we know that the factorial of 6 is 720. So this is the right answer. And let me tell you, this is the base case and this is the recursive case in this program. Now after that, let's do one last example of recursion. Okay, so now let's make a new file and name this file Now first of all, we'll add the header files, iostream, now namespace standard, using namespace standard. So here we will do the program of Fibonacci series, and we know that Fibonacci series is basically in Fibonacci series each number is basically the sum of its two previous numbers. So let's start. So first of all, we'll make int main, Now we'll declare a variable num. Now we want to take the input from the user, so first of all we'll display a message saying that enter the number. Now we'll take the input, we'll write num. Now we will make a for loop and iterate that loop from i0 to num. So we'll write for keyword int I equal to 0, I less than num, I plus plus. Now inside the loop we will write cout to display, and we will call fibo function, and we will pass I as an argument because we want to print the series. So we will write cout fibo, and we'll pass I as an argument, and just for the space now we'll write return 0. In fibo function we have passed I as an argument because we want to print the series. So first 0 will be passed, then 1 will be passed, after then 2 will be passed, and so on. So now we will make the function fibo int is the return type, fibo is the name. Now the argument num. Now in this fibo function we will put if condition for checking if the num is equal to 0 or 1. If yes, we will return the value of num, else we will recursively call fibo using n-1 and n-2 because Fibonacci series is basically the sum of previous two numbers. So first of all we'll write if num is less than equal to 1, then return num, else return fibo num minus 1 plus fibo brackets num minus 2, because we know Fibonacci series is basically the sum of previous two numbers. Now if the num is 0 or 1, then it will go to the if statement, and if it is greater than 0 and 1, then it will go to this recursive statement. So for example, if n equals to 2, then we will call recursively 2 minus 1 and 2 minus 2, that is 1 and 0 respectively. Since 2 minus 1 will give 1 and 2 minus 2 will give 0, these will be evaluated in if statement as they are less than equal to 1. So it will give 0 plus 1, that is equal to 1. Now let's try to run this code. Enter the number, let's say 6, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, which is the right answer. The Fibonacci sequence for 6 is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. So this is how we can do Fibonacci series or Fibonacci sequence with the help of recursion. And I suggest you to do some more examples on recursion to understand it better. So alright, with that we have come to the end of this video. I hope it really helped you all. Thanks for watching, stay safe and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.